Pisces, this is your week ahead astrology forecast by Astrology Motivation from Born Without Boundaries. In these weekly videos, I review the major planetary aspects and transits and how they're going to be impacting or aspecting your natal sun, and then what that could mean for your week. So we're going to start off really broad with the charts for the week, the big stuff, and then I'll focus that into Pisces specific information, and then I'll break everything down into the 3 decans of Pisces. A decan is just a group of 10 degrees that astrologers use to sort of organize our own information and see what aspects are forming between certain natal suns, because they're going to be different throughout Pisces, and you'll definitely see that. So all you need to know is your birthday. That's it. Everything else I'm going to translate for you. We start off, so this is for the week of August 30th to August 30th to September 5th of 2023. And yeah, there's big stuff happening, especially for you. So let's get into it. We have a full moon in Pisces on the 30th. God bless. This is a huge one, especially for Pisces 1. Those of you born in the beginning of Pisces season, this is usually February Pisces. But honestly, this is just energy that everybody's going to feel. This is a full super moon, which means that the moon is closer. It's closer in proximity to the earth right now, and so it's extra big. And even now, I've been looking at the moon for the past week. You can see so many details. It's so bright. And if you're in the States, you'll have just the perfect view of it. It's going to be extraordinary, aesthetically speaking. And you're going to see Saturn right next to it too. Why? Because Saturn's in Pisces too, and Saturn is conjuncting this beautiful full moon. Now, in terms of aesthetics and astronomy, what a gorgeous spectacle to behold. In terms of astrology, what a difficult fucking energy it is. It is tough. The moon and Saturn are very conflicting energies, and when they conjunct, it's never easy. It's never with ease. It's always more kind of forced, and that's what this energy, I think, is bound to release. That sense of why you feel so at odds with who you are or what your standards are. Why have you been so critical, or where have you not been critical enough? Are you really as good as you think you are, or are you being too hard on yourself at all in general? Because remember, all of this is happening, as all full moons do, in opposition to the sun. However, this full moon is also, because it's conjunct to Saturn, semi-square to Chiron. Now, Chiron and Saturn are the 2 drill sergeants. They're the tough teachers, especially Chiron. Chiron is really the drill sergeant. I'm going to make this training as difficult as possible for you because I need you to be stronger and get better. And this semi-square between the full moon and Chiron is really there to release those energies of I'll never be good enough. I'll never make it. Nothing I will do is ever good enough. It's like too much, too hard on yourself, too many restrictions, too many criticisms, too many laws, rules, and regulations starting to demotivate you. You know, it's not Chiron's ultimate goal to demotivate. He wants to motivate and inspire and make sure that you grow. When it starts to get to a point where it's deflating you, there's this energy of you need release, and ultimately that's what this full moon is going to offer. Now, a couple of days down the road, we also have the sun by the 31st or September 1st, moving out of opposition with the sun, moving out of opposition with Saturn, which is very good. It's going to release that oppressed kind of energy we have all been feeling. And a little bit down the line, I think around the 2nd, Mars and Neptune are going to break away from each other too. They're going to break out of opposition with each other, which is another thing that we've just been sort of overcompensating for these feelings of inadequacies by trying to have punching matches with shadows. It's like you're wasting your energy. They don't matter, and that's going to finally just push forward too. So we've got a lot of release that really kicks off on the 30th. Now, yesterday, Uranus moved went into retrograde. So that's all about internal changes now, changes and recalibrations that we have to have inside of who we are. And that full moon gives us the power to pop all those distracting and and those emotions that are getting in the way, to get them out, right? And so give us room to sort of shift and make the changes that we need to make inside of ourselves. Our expectations for ourselves, we may actually really surprise ourselves, which is really lovely, or could be really lovely over the next few months into January. We also have Jupiter on the 3rd going into retrograde. Basically, all of our major planets are either in retrograde or shadow period at this point, except for Mars. Mars is in detriment, however, in Libra, which means nothing is moving very fast. It's not about moving fast. Mars in Libra, I think, states it best. It's about equalizing and recalibrating and taking actions to restore justice. Justice is balance. It's not I get my way, so I'm happy about it. It's what do we need to restore balance? What do we need to equalize? Do we need to do a little more work? Do we need to do a little bit less? What do we need to tweak? What do we need to pull back on? And who needs to get retribution? Absolutely, but the universe will decide that. So yeah, we have a very active week, but as most of the planets are in retrograde, it's very it's quieter, it's more internal, it's going on beneath the surface. It's like the roots growing underneath that they need to, in order for when we see growth, it to be important and really stick around. Venus comes out of retrograde on the 4th, Pisces, and what does that mean? Well, it means not much at first, because Venus is going to take a while to start getting back into motion. You're going to just feel her shadow period. You're not going to really feel a relief of Venus retrograde until maybe mid-September, and then really start progressive motion in the beginning of October. What does that mean? Venus rules finances. Venus rules value systems. Venus rules romance, and sort of being ready to put ourselves out there and be seen and try a little bit of love again, and a little bit of happiness again, and a little bit of decadence again. We do have Venus right now square to Jupiter in retrograde, and that's probably exposing all the ways we have overindulged. In every way that we have gone into excess, we are going to be called out on this in order to show us what is really valuable and recalibrate our value system, so we don't abuse abundance when we get it, because you can abuse abundance. You could throw it away and you could fuck it up by not appreciating it. And if that's what you've been doing, then Venus retrograde has been super hard on you, and it's been doing everything in its power to point out where you have been decadent and where you need to cut that shit out. I'm just gonna let you know, things will start to pick back up, and then hopefully you will remember the lessons that you've learned, and you will not be as stupid as you start to be able to accumulate abundance moving toward the end of the year. So let's get into Pisces specific. And I want to understand, when I say you, I mean that in the most plural sense. This is the big stuff, right? This is the general but global energy right now. Let's go into Pisces specific information then. So what do I do to find that out? Well, I look at what's going on in Pisces, and there's a shit ton going on with Pisces. So let's take some time. In the zodiac sign of Pisces, we have the full moon, but we have the moon between the 30th of September through the 30th of August through the 1st of September. So over the course of the first couple of days of this week, the moon is going to conjunct your natal suns. Just an FYI, this is a beautiful period of really knowing and understanding who the heck you are. It's a reminder of your wholeness, your completeness, and feeling complete. And so there is a tranquility that happens at that time. The full moon, of course, is going to be conjunct to Pisces 1, where, as we've discussed, we have Saturn at 3 degrees Pisces. It's not going anywhere. And we have Neptune at 26 degrees Pisces. It's not going anywhere. In fact, by the end of this year, I think by November, both of those planets will be going direct again. So we even have Pluto going direct, I think, by November, maybe October. So ultimately, a few of the planets that have already been in retrograde for quite a few months at this point are going to slowly start coming out of retrograde, and we're going to start to see the energy starting to pick up again. Though Mercury will be out of retrograde on September 15th, It'll go back into retrograde around Christmas time. So we'll have a Christmas Mercury retrograde, which is actually very common. It's very seasonally normal, if you will. It doesn't always happen, but it happens often. So we will have another Mercury retrograde. We're in our second retrograde of the year now. We'll have another one by around the Christmas season. We also have, the full moon. The full moon is at 7 degrees Pisces, conjunct to Saturn at 3 degrees Pisces. So especially Pisces 1. If you are born between 0 and 9 degrees Pisces, or if your natal sun is between 0 and 9 degrees Pisces, I'm going to tell you right now, this is a huge cathartic moment for you. You will have powerful release and very powerful energy. If you practice magic, if you practice any kind of manifestation, oh, you need to use this moon. You must use this moon. It is extraordinarily powerful for you. So what's going on? What else do I look at for Pisces? Well, what's going on with your ruling dignitaries? Because ultimately they will they'll like Salt Bay your life, right? So, yeah, they will. You will always feel them. They will always impact you. What's impacting them will somehow come around to you. That's why I tell all Cancerians, like I am, to get a moon calendar and understand where the heck that moon is, because we got a lot of shifts and changes. You guys not so much, because you're ruled by larger planets. Now, I know you have one major ruler, and that is Neptune. It is your modern ruler. But your traditional ruler is Jupiter, and I promise you still get impacted by Jupiter, especially in terms of Jupiter's optimism and curiosity about the world. Pisces, I think, are second only to Sagittarius in their love of travel and their interest in other cultures. And of course, that is because Sagittarius is ruled only by Jupiter. You, of course, have Neptune thrown in, and we've got a lot going on between the two of them. So let's talk about it. Neptune is your primary ruler. It is your modern ruler, and it is in your home sign. It is in its home. It's right there, 26 degrees Pisces. It is says a quadre. I call it says a square to Venus in retrograde. This could cause a little distraction and frustration because you can't get your mind focused the way that you want it to. You could also be seeing things a little bit better than they are. Those rose-colored glasses could be fogging up a little bit or getting in your way. Neptune is also quincunx to the south node, which means your comfort zone is going to start to agitate you like a pebble in your shoe, and it's asking you to just move on. You know, the things that you want to still like, it's like you don't like as much anymore. That's a good thing. That's a sign of growth. We also have a sextile to Pluto, which is long-term, and honestly, it's gonna change the globe. It usually does. This aspect in the past has just made dynamic changes. It's generational, really, is what it is. And so I don't know if you guys have any insights into it, but this is really a brilliant period of scientific breakthroughs. We don't know how we're going to use them, but it is usually a herald of scientific advancement. We have Jupiter. What is going on with Jupiter? Jupiter is an inner planet, actually. It's farther away from us, but we could certainly see it and track it with the naked eye. Jupiter is your traditional ruler, and it's trying to Mercury retrograde all week. So this is illumination and learning, broadening, and expanding through retrospective, through looking things over again and learning what we didn't learn right the first time, or information that we're just discovering. We also have a square, Jupiter square to Venus retrograde. That is all about our indulgence centers and how our indulgences have maybe made us stuck and messed us up. And then, of course, from the 3rd of September on, Jupiter's also going to be trine to the Sun, and the Sun and Mercury will be conjunct at that point. This is absolutely brilliant and expansive energy. Lights are finally shone on issues that we need to understand. We will get them and understand them retrospectively. So this could actually be a very illuminating time for you. Let's go into the decans. In the study of the decans, what we do is we understand what is aspecting certain groups of natal suns. So I can understand how your natal suns are going to be interacting with the planets around it, as opposed to just lumping you all into one category, because not all Pisces are going to be impacted the same way by these things. So if you know your natal sun is between 0 and 9 degrees Pisces, it is in the first 10 degrees. That's a decan, a group of 10 degrees of Pisces, and you are Pisces 1. This correlates to birthdays between, I would say, February 20th and February 29th, if we've had a 29th at that point, maybe up to March 1st. Your natal suns are the ones conjunct to Saturn, which actually, when your sun is conjunct Saturn, it gives you a very formidable certainty about yourself, a sense of maturity and seriousness, and people will take you more seriously. And you're not afraid of long-term commitment at this point. You have a more solid energy to you. But you're also conjunct this full moon, which means huge catharsis and breaking free of your own criticisms and self-destruction through holding yourself back, oppression of all sorts, especially self-criticism and self-judgment. All week long, or at least through the first, your natal suns are also opposite to the sun. Actually, all of your natal suns will be opposite to the sun, probably up through the second or the third of this week, until the sun passes into the second decan, really. So ultimately, this could also cause a lot of conflict with how you feel about yourself and how you view yourself and your self-esteem, as well as your ability to feel connected to your heart space, to have courage, to have conviction. So this could all be very compromised, and so making this full moon very emotional for you, but still very powerful tool for release. We have a long-term semi-square to Chiron, which could also compromise your sense of self-esteem. That, with the opposition to the sun right now, could really be diminishing how you look at yourself and feel about yourself. So this week is going to offer you some great release around those situations. Your natal suns are sextile to the north node and trine to the south node, which means there's harmony and peace and tranquility. In other words, I'm good with where I've been in the past. And that comfort is helping me to want to move forward, and realizing that I don't owe anything to my past anymore. We're good. I can put all my energy into my own sense of personal authority over my future. So that's very progressive energy for the next couple of months. And then we have a quincunx to Mars this week. That's testing energy. That is really gonna like, you could get really pissed off more than normal. You know, you can get more emotional than normal at this point. That means the full moon energy might explode out of you in a way. But I think especially what will trigger you is, since Mars is in Libra, issues dealing with injustice, or where you feel you haven't been treated fairly, or somebody you care about hasn't. So that will definitely be what triggers you into action, and maybe out of your self-consciousness into the bigger picture, so you can be productive. We have productive for whatever you consider that. Then we have Pisces 2. So Pisces 2, if your natal suns are between 10 and 19 degrees Pisces, it's in the second decade of Pisces. You guys are Pisces 2. This usually correlates to March 1st through 11th birthdays, in and around that time span. Your natal suns are going to be in opposition to the sun by the 1st of this week. So for most of this week and into next week, your natal suns are in opposition to the sun. That can compromise your vitality. It can compromise your sense of who you are. It can make you butt heads more and be more egotistical, feel like you need to assert your sense of self more, when in reality you're doubting yourself. So those kind of confrontations and challenges can happen, right? Especially if you feel like you're not getting seen enough, or not being validated enough, or you feel you have something to live up to. That could cause a great deal of exhaustion in you, really. Oppositions usually create a lot of friction and exhaustion. We also have an opposition to Mercury retrograde for this week. So, oh honey, I will just pray for you. I will just pray for you, because Mercury retrograde can be hectic in itself, but to be in opposition to it, that's flat tires. That's the phone. Just why didn't it charge? You know, crazy crap. And yes, you can imagine that this is going to be frustrating you all week long. Please, if you can, avoid any important contract signing or any important presentations. Avoid having to do anything important along that level. I just think it's a wash this week. Wait till next week. You know, that's probably better. But if you can, wait till Mercury's out of retrograde in the middle of September, if you can. And then we have Venus quincunx. Your natal sun's quincunx to Venus. That means there's a irritation with your hair not being right, with the way that your body presents, maybe frustration with your personal space in your relationship. You know, there can be a lot of tension around that, especially with Mercury retrograde. There can be miscommunications like crazy. This could just be one hell of a week. And so taking quiet time, grounding yourself, but especially bathing yourself in salted water to try to like help release those toxins and the frustration that could build up in you can be very, very helpful. And then we have a sextile to Jupiter. Really difficult week to have a sextile to Jupiter, because that's very optimistic and it's very much you're going to get lucky. So with a sextile to Jupiter, even though all this crazy shit may happen to you and irritate you, in some ways it could magically make everything work out for you. It doesn't mean that it won't be frustrating and agitating and discouraging while it's happening to you, though. Just an FYI, this is a really chaotic week. Just an FYI. So Pisces 3s. Pisces 3s. If you know that your natal sun is between 20 and 29 degrees Pisces, it's in the third decan of Pisces. So you guys are Pisces 3s. This correlates to Pisces birthdays between, I would say, the 12th to the 22nd of March. Your natal suns are conjunct to Neptune. So that makes you more dreamy. It makes you more creative, and it makes you way more psychic. It also reconnects you, because what Neptune and the sun have in real common is faith and connection to God and God's purpose. So God is going to talk to you louder than ever right now. And that's the truth. And so your direction and your way and your certainty in it and your connection to the Almighty and the ethereal is going to be so profound that it's clearly lighted. It radiates out of you. And you're certain of it. It's not cloudy. This isn't Neptune conjunct the moon. It isn't suggestive. The sun sheds light on things and is the great definer of reality. So it's almost like seeing your dreams or your psyche clearly. This is for the next couple of years, so it could be a great blessing. You're in opposition to Mars. Your natal suns are opposite Mars through the 31st, thank God, because this is a tough energy. Sun opposite Mars can bring more injury. It can bring more anger. It can bring more fighting. It can bring more vitality and sexuality, but also impulsivity and almost bullying. It's a tough energy, and I'm glad that it's passing by the 31st. Most of you guys will stop feeling that so much, especially feeling like you have to take action even when you're not ready. We have a sextile to Uranus, at least for this week, while Uranus, actually the next couple of, probably month or so, as Uranus is in retrograde. But there is this beautiful energy of, I am so ready for surprises and to surprise everyone. And the ability to think outside the box, especially when your sun is also conjunct to Neptune. This is an exceptional period of clarity, ingenuity, and genius for you. So definitely listen, trust your instincts, and act upon your creative urges. We have a sesosquare to Venus, which can cause a lot of frustration when it comes to have or have not feeling quality, not feeling like you're treated correctly, just almost like a dissatisfaction in some ways with Venus energy, with anything that is aesthetic or decadent, sensual pleasures. You could find that there's a lot of frustration around them right now. And then a sextile to Pluto is here. So That's long term, guys, and that's going to really bring about so much great and beautiful energy for just revolutionizing yourself and the world. And you could really be an exceptional disruptor right now, but for good, for positivity, for actually creating space to change into, instead of just sitting there and suggesting it. So this is just a gorgeous time for you guys. It really is. It really is. This week, the troublesome energy with Venus and Mars, this could just lead to just frustration or temperamental overspills when it comes to your relationships, especially. That should pass by the end of this week, but also bring up a lot of issues that it should be clear that if you work on them, you could actually strengthen your relationship in a lot of ways. So yeah, you let me know, Pisces, how this energy has been impacting you. And if you love these videos, please share that love by liking them. And then share the video to people you know will enjoy the video too. And remember to subscribe to this channel so astrology motivation can grow. Please then come over to Born Without Boundaries Tarot for your week ahead tarot card reading. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the videos. Bye, Pisces.